Hi, my name is Brian Glenfelt. I'm a freshman at USF, and I'm currently undecided on my major. This is my first semester, and I'm very excited to learn new things and join clubs here on campus. Today, I'm going to be talking about Kendrick Lamar's The Heart Part 5 music video, released on May 8th, 2022, and how it connects to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 16, which focuses on establishing peace, justice, and uncorrupt fair institutions. The music video is about Kendrick's commentary on the impoverished black culture. He talks about the struggles and injustices of his community and of those across the country where black Americans and low-income communities are exposed to violence and socioeconomic problems. He argues that this life he and others portray in their music is not a culture, but a serious problem that needs fixing. Around the 56-second mark, Kendrick states, "Desensitized, I vandalize pain, covered up in camouflage, get used to hearing Arsenal rain." Lamar describes the psychological stress that people go through in violent environments and how they can become desensitized to it as it becomes a reality in everyday life. By covering up and hiding his fear of the sounds of war outside, to the point where it doesn't bother him anymore, he and others become so used to it, it becomes a way of life and solidifies itself as a norm. At the 2-minute 45-second mark, Kendrick says, "In the land where hurt people hurt more people, F calling it culture. The normalization of violence can lead to further violence and contribute to the idea that violence is part of the culture itself," that Kendrick speaks on. It also demonstrates how trauma can spread over generations in places where inequality, poverty, and lack of justice creates instability and strife. Lamar calls out the culture as a whole and argues that the normalization of violence isn't a good part of the culture, but a danger to the safety and prosperity of those who are part of it. This supports 16.1 of the global goals to reduce violence everywhere for the sake of future generations. Protecting children and shielding them from the violence in our streets align with the UN's vision for a more peaceful society. Additionally, 16.4 of the global goals is to combat organized crime and illicit financial and armed flows. It is the duty of the government and local law enforcement to ensure that people can't get their hands on rifles and firearms and to crack down on the illegal arms business as a whole, which still occurs in some areas. The causes of which, mainly poverty, are just another trait of that culture. At the 40-second mark, Lamar says, "I come from a generation of pain where murder is minor, rebellious and Margiela's will chip you for a designer." In addition to going against the norm of violence to achieve wealth, Lamar critiques how materialism and inequality can fuel violent behavior, where status symbols like expensive clothing are valued over life itself. In communities where institutions fail to provide justice or opportunity, people often turn to dangerous means of survival, creating an environment where crime feels normalized, which is not what the UN wants to do. Culture is the collection of shared traits and ideas that distinguish a group of people, from page 34. In the textbook, it gives examples of different cultures, like ones that distinguish a nationality like South African culture or Syrian culture, or to describe a music taste or a socioeconomic class like hip-hop or the culture of the rich. Also from page 34, at 1 minute 40 seconds, 4 seconds into the music video, Kendrick says, "23-hour lockdown that someone called, said your little nephew was shot down, the culture's involved, I done seen N-word do 17, hit the halfway house, get out and get his brains blown out, looking to buy some weed, car wash is played out, new GoFundMe accounts will proceed, a brand new victim will shatter those dreams, the culture." Kendrick is talking about the poverty-stricken black culture that he grew up around in Compton. He's arguing in the music video that the shared norms and ideas about violence in the culture should be changed. The culture he talks about can include many different subcultures from LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and many other cities across the country that have all faced discriminatory housing laws and economic restrictions to form into large, predominantly black neighborhoods that are all facing some of the problems of the culture overall. Starting in the 30s and ramping up in the 60s, the racial divide in the housing market and the creation of mainly black neighborhoods in the inner city of many major American cities cultivated this culture that would grow and experience hardships like the crack epidemic in the 80s and 90s, further worsening the economic status and increasing gang violence in these neighborhoods. And as a result, all of these subcultures from different cities have similar experience and shared morals and norms, creating the culture that Kendrick references in the music video. This video changed my assumptions about the relationship between artists and audiences. I learned that Kendrick feels tied to his culture and pressure to go along with it for the kind of enjoyment of the fans. Like he said in the video, "I want the hood to want me back." but he also wants to speak out against his own culture to address some of the issues he sees in it. I thought this dynamic was interesting and thought-provoking because in some of the other music that I listen to, I wonder how much of it is the artist's actual opinion on a subject or if it's what the audience is used to hearing or expecting from them, and that somehow influences their music making abilities. So those were my thoughts on the music video. Thanks for watching. Brian Glenfeld, signing out.